One of the things that normally happens on Ash Wednesday and throughout Lent is people begin, if they haven't already, they begin to ponder what to give up for Lent. Most of us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today is Ash Wednesday. It's the first day of Lent, and it struck me very early this morning before our 7 a.m. Eucharist that Ash Wednesday is one of the few major church holy days that we have not missed twice, right? Or that has not been messed up twice, so to speak. All of this with the pandemic was winding up, but we didn't really know what we were getting into when Ash Wednesday 2020 happened. And it was on Lent 2 and Lent 3 that everything went sideways. And I think, at least from my perspective, that kind of helps me in some way divide up the pandemic, because we had a normal Ash Wednesday in 2020, and then everything for an entire year was very messed up. You know, we originally thought it would take a couple of weeks to get through this, but I think it's fair to say that most of us in, around Lent, heading into Easter 2021, we're thinking, we're on the tail end of this. It will have been just a single year and we can wind down and get back to normal. And then we had a whole other year of it. And now here we are today, and I think we're all in the same boat yet again, hoping that we are winding down towards this, finally getting to a point where we can move along a little bit more regularly. Now that said, I think it is important to note that one of the things that normally happens on Ash Wednesday and throughout Lent is people begin, if they haven't already, they begin to ponder what to give up for Lent. And most of us last year and the year before gave up being normal for Lent. There were a lot of clergy that joked that we've had a year or two of Lent, that it's been a strange and long and arduous time, and wouldn't it be nice to give up giving up things and go back to something slightly normal. I encourage you today to think about finding ways in your spiritual life to reintroduce some semblance of a normal spiritual prayer practice. That could be prayers, but it could also be more on the practice side of things. Many of us have fallen out of certain habits that we used to do regularly, whether it's going to church on Sunday or being involved in church or community groups that really did make a difference in how we live out our faith on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis. So I encourage you to think about what ways you can reinvigorate your spiritual and prayer life and practice. Remembering our gospel, and actually the reading from Isaiah today, which makes it crystal clear that just doing something for the sake of doing something, or doing something for the sake of feeling religious, isn't the point. The point is to move closer to God in all that you do, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and also to move closer to your neighbor, those other children of God like us that we live and move and breathe next to in the world. So if you take up something, do it to move closer to God. Do it to move closer to your neighbors or your enemies. Do it in some way that makes a difference. Now, I've got a little, normally I give up a variety of things. Not one of those makes sense this year because I'm going to Israel for a month. I suppose I could give up pork, but that really wouldn't be much of a thing because I couldn't get it there anyway. But one of the things that I'm going to take up, and this is new to me, and I've not done this before, but I sent out over the last few weeks an email to the whole congregation, to individual people, asking, and I'll implore all of you this as well, asking for names for a list of people that I can pray for while I am in the Holy Land. Specifically, but not exclusively, at the Wall, at the Temple Mount, and also at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And today I spent my morning compiling those names that I have gotten in already, with the goal of having something that I can shrink down to 1-point font and print on a little thing and plug it into the wall. And the good news is my page and a half of names that everybody has sent in at 1-point font is tiny. But I encourage you to send me names, but more so, I want to tell you what an interesting practice it was for me and how much I'm looking forward to this Lent being able to pray these names. It reconnected me with everybody that sent in names. It was a literal way of being able for me to think, gosh, I didn't really know what was going on in these different people's worlds. And just being able to reach out and say, I'd like to check in. Please send me your names, anything you'd like me to pray for. And it was overwhelming how many people did that. If you haven't, please consider doing it. But I think it's a decent practice for all of us. You can reach out to your family and your friends and your neighbors, and you can say, you know, we've had a weird 2 years here. Can I check in with you? Because this Lent, I'm actually going to be praying for people. And you can use it as an opportunity to pray for those people that maybe you've had some connection loss with over the last couple of years. Or to pray for those people who you thought you knew everything about, but actually reaching out and saying, is there something I can pray for, revealed that there were some significant concerns and your prayers were greatly appreciated. So use this Ash Wednesday and Lent as the beginning of rebuilding your spiritual practice. I gave you one way you can do that through reaching out and prayer. There are plenty of others. But don't just stop when Easter happens and we put on our pink clothes and have a nice big party and all that. Try to use this season of Lent as something that when you look back, you can say, I'm so glad I did that because it made such a difference in my spiritual life and practice long term. It was something that I was able to keep doing, and it really made me able to connect again with God in a way that I hadn't, and with all of my neighbors and families and friends, and even those people that I don't get along with very well. Just checking in and praying, it makes a huge difference. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.